Now let's welcome a new generation hotelier. We're so happy to have you here with us physically on this stage. Shin Hui, who's the executive director for the Park Hotel Group, and she's got strong family roots in finance, real estate, and hospitality. A woman of many, many talents. In particular, she's known for her views on environmental and community issues, and she's actively driving the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit for her group. So welcome, Shin Hui, to the stage.
Thank you for having me, Hoon.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here physically.
Yeah, so what did you think of the news this morning?
The news this morning...
Oh yeah, you know, the minister saying that there's going to be commitment towards a roadmap, so you must be really happy for the hotel industry.
Well, I think the hotel industry has been through quite a lot these days. To be honest, there's a lot of news out there, and sometimes...
I know.
You know, like the bubble. Sometimes it happens, it doesn't happen. I think we've been kind of taking the news in our stride now, and we'll just wait for the execution.
Okay, all right. Good. Staying pragmatic.
Yep.
So let's divide this talk into 3 pillars, and let's start with people. All right. So I want to get to know you personally first. You come from distinguished roots. Your grandfather, Wee Cho Yaw, everybody knows him. He's the founder of United Overseas Bank. What was the best lesson your grandfather taught you?
Well, obviously my family's reputation precedes me. I think one of the few things that he has taught me, or I've learned by observing, is his work ethic. He has amazing work ethic, and in his 90s, he's still going to the office. Obviously, he has had that transition in terms of the executive duties already long ago, but he feels that passion and that work ethic. Another one that he taught me is also from ownership perspective, thinking long term. As you know, it was started by the family, and as it's inextricably linked to the Wee family name. And I believe that commitment and the long-termism is something to learn from. Okay,
good. So work ethic, 90 still going to the office. So now you were in private equity and consultancy until 2009, and I'm going to share a bit of personal history here. And then you got engaged, and then you married Alan Law, who's the CEO of the Park Hotel Group, and you decided to leave the world of finance to join him. So you gave it all up for love.
I think those that know me, I'm hardly considered romantic, and that's a very romantic concept. So thank you. So I don't think that is really what happened. I think hospitality and real estate has always been quite close to my heart. As you said, the family has been in the business for a while. What happened was, I guess I was in between roles, and I was thinking what were my next steps. And there was a very clear opportunity to make a difference with Park Hotel, the then Park Hotel Group, which is a fraction of its size today. And I decided to take the plunge. I was pretty considered. It was not an unfamiliar industry, I think, firstly.
Right.
Secondly, maybe I was very optimistic that partners could work together. Life partners could work together.
So clearly it's worked out because you're still married and you're still working together, right? So
yeah.
So basically, talk to us about people, right? Because, you know, share with us what COVID has done to accelerate the people part of Park Hotels. What have you done during this period to really, you know, grow that pillar?
Right. Just some context. It was about 2 years ago that we said, you know, what is meaningful to us, and people, planet, profit was something that we wanted to adopt as a triple bottom line for the organization as a whole. So yes, with COVID, all 3 elements came into play.
And all 3 were accelerated.
Yeah. But you asked about people. Let's talk about people first. Okay. So from the people's perspective, clearly the industry was hit. Jobs are at stake. People's health and people were worried, right? In the early stages of the crisis, we are based here, and most of our team members are based here. What we did was, the first thing, when DOSCON Orange happened early last year, we all went into work from home. So we are actually in a longer period of work from home than most companies. We've been in it almost 1.5 years. So I think the people's health came first. Secondly, I think we did a pretty good job of enabling most people. I mean, service line, front line, you can't work from home. But those that could, we transited them to work from home very quickly. with minimal interruption. The IT basically support was there.
Okay.
And then from team members' perspective, of course, we increased our communication, our engagement, and to date we have had 0 retrenchments. Clearly, we have had to do some cost control measures, but I think our goal has always been to save as many jobs as possible, and it was quite clear that some sharing of pain, whether it's landlords, banks, the government,
Right.
the company, team members, I think we all understand that we're all in it together, and there's been a bit of a sharing of the pain, but ultimately we've managed to retain jobs.
Right. But you also spoke about the fact that, you did all these measures, you kept your staff safe, and you also sort of launched a YMCA Uplift Fund, right? And you seeded it with $500,000. But now you're speaking about investment in a new tech stack, which will increase productivity, create value-added work, and enhance the customer experience. So this has been a good time for you to invest in technology that will power people as well. Can you tell us about that?
So I think there are 2 things. Today, if you had cash flow, you would either do renovations, enhancements, or you would invest in making sure that your business is prepped for the future. So we've looked at all 3. And specifically to the tech stack, I think today we are looking at how we can enhance our customer experience. There has been an acceleration in digitization of the hospitality industry, as many have already alluded to. So what we have done is take a close look at our operations. We have already had one hotel that is at the forefront of this by having mobile check-ins, keyless access, and so on and so forth. No, there were no buttons in the room. In fact, you could all access it via an app. So we have had the experience of that, but we didn't know that this will come sooner than expected. So now we are looking at, since we have the experience of one hotel, do we extend it to the rest? We have looked at other areas whereby today's consumers are online more than before, and I don't think it's reversible. That means they're not going to go back. Sure, the growth will be less in terms of digitization, maybe, impact of growth, but I think we are looking at customer journeys remaining as it is, and therefore we need to enhance our tech stack such that we can meet the customers' expectations on this front.
Right.
Moving forward.
So you're looking at robotics as well. You're looking at automation that will release staff to do more value-added work, right? Which means hopefully higher salaries for the staff.
Yeah, I think my personal take on robotics is we've seen some of the implementations in Singapore. The government has also given grants on that, so we've seen that, and some of our other industry hotels have done that as well. I think it's still a bit far-fetched to say that it will replace humans.
Yeah.
So I don't think that robotics is going to come on in a big way. One thing that I believe the mentality on digitization, definitely hoteliers have to change that. We have to be faster to adopt. We have to have more open source platforms, right? We have to have ecosystems that can plug into other ecosystems. If it's closed, a lot of things can be done, which is what we probably experienced during this pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest challenge is actually to open source your
I think a lot of legacy systems and hotels have invested a lot of capex into that front. So it's not say you can just discard or depreciate overnight.
Yeah.
So because of that, most tech does need to follow a sort of an investment cycle. Where we are seeing it is how can we escalate some of that, and if there are some that are near end of life, do we buy back the same thing, or we reinvent and look at what is out there today, and we might purchase something that's in the cloud or open source, as opposed to a closed ecosystem.
That seems to be the general direction that hotel companies are going, like open source and cloud. So now let's move on to Planet. So we have to move on to Planet, an important topic. Your Grand Park City Hotel here, City Hall, won several awards. Your Grand Park in Maldives has gone solar power, and I read that it will reduce the carbon emissions, saving up to 150,000 liters of diesel fuel annually. So what other big-scale initiatives are you taking with other properties?
Right. So before COVID happened, we had quite a lot of plans, and one of them is reduce single use, not just plastics, just single use in general. But with COVID, as you know, hygiene, safety, I think single use has come back full force.
I know.
Takeaways and so on and so forth. So it does throw some of our plans into the air. But I think the philosophy is there. How do we continually reduce that? And that might be changing some of our operations. For example, do people really need housekeeping every day? I think that's one. There is talk about having it opt-in housekeeping as opposed to opt-out, which is the default today. So I think relooking our operations, that is something that we're looking at. Improving the way we recycle and reuse, another one. We have implemented a lot of, Grand Park City Hall, you correctly mentioned. When we renovated that hotel, we knew what we wanted to achieve. And there's a platinum mark, now for green mark by BCA. So I think every time the opportunity comes to relook our equipment so that it falls in line with sustainability, we do that and we invest in that.
Right, right. One of the things about sustainability is the ability to measure it, right? And so I believe that that's something you have been able to do with Grand Park City Hotel, where you've actually measured that you reduce water and energy consumption by 61.9% and 52.8% respectively, as well as the decrease in carbon emission by 58.2%. So these initiatives you've taken at your hotel, what has it done to profit?
Right. I think anything that you want to get done has to be measured. I'm a firm proponent of that. And anything that you want done has a function, it has to do with multiple things, not just the equipment, the tech, but also the processes and the mindset, i.e. the people. So it has to come together, unfortunately. That's why it's not so simple. What has it done to profit? Well, when you save energy costs, naturally it should flow into the bottom line. What people should do is to calculate what the payback period is, because there is investment. There are certain ways that you can defray some of these costs today on grants, etc. So I would encourage people to look at that. Then it will shorten your payback period, but you definitely have to measure it.
Right. So this is like when you talked about consumers that have gone online, there's no going back for them. It's the same with hoteliers, right? If you've taken this path towards sustainability and measuring and all this, you're talking about using tidal energy, solar power, or wind, for example. We are exploring all those. There's only one way forward for hospitality as well, right?
To be honest, I'm not sure every hotelier thinks the same, because there is a payback period, as I mentioned, and today the default is dirty energy is cheaper. There is no capex, right? So I think you have to ask yourself what your priorities are, calculate the payback period, talk to your shareholders or stakeholders in that case, and have an agreement on it. But I definitely think from Park Hotel Group's perspective, if you believe in it and you're on that path, there is no turning back.
Right, and if you're playing the long game, right? So let's talk about the third pillar, which is profit. So during COVID, your group and Apricot Capital actually purchased a newly built hotel in Kyoto, and you bought it virtually. I understand, like you didn't even go there, so you actually bought it online. So has COVID created opportunities for distressed hotel assets for hoteliers like yourself?
Well, technically we didn't buy it online. This sounds too much like e-commerce.
You did a virtual
not like
tour.
Shopping. We did a virtual tour, but the paperwork was completed physically. So I think we do see opportunities coming up, but we have not seen it in the scale that we expected to. The level of forbearance that landlords, banks, governments have been willing to give and continue to give has been astounding. So I think we believe it will come soon, because there is a limit to all this. It's just that we have not seen that kind of quality of assets that will get us really excited yet coming up to market.
Right, and people are still holding on. But so I understand that you have a lot of brokers knocking on your doors for properties in Phuket, Kuala Lumpur, and Sri Lanka.
I think we have seen multiple different kind of assets up for sale, and some banks that are reaching out, some in Japan as well. But as I said, usually they might be assets that are probably breaking even or not performing so well pre-pandemic, and pandemic has just put them in the red.
Okay.
So it may not be assets that really get us excited at this stage.
Where are you interested in?
Today, I think we are interested in markets like Australia. I personally think that markets that have a stronger domestic base would be preferential. That said, I have to caveat, China's reaction and Japan's tackling of the crisis is quite different. And the recovery has been quite different and remarkable in China's case, and Japan maybe not so. So I think we have to wear a different lens, but as a rule of thumb, I think I will look at things that has a stronger domestic base. Definitely, and this has always been the case, the legal system,
Of
the
course.
investment, how friendly is the
And it
investment?
depends on the
Yeah.
pricing as well, I guess.
Yeah, of course. And the asset, quality of the asset, both.
Okay. So in your new builds, how will you think differently about hotel design? Has COVID made you think differently about, how you design hotels for the next era?
For sure. I think sustainability is one. I mean, if I'm building from scratch, I could put everything in that checks, off all the green stuff that we want to put in. It's harder for an old building. So that's one. I think I would build it differently. I would build it for flexibility. I think pandemic is considered a black swan event. In fact, most contracts don't even cover pandemic. So I think if you want to invest for a black swan event, flexibility is the way to go. Because I believe as well that people's memories are quite short. If you go extreme, say like I don't want humans, I don't want any contact, then what if people forget and they actually desire that? So I feel building for flexibility is one, such as furniture that could be moved, rooms that could be reconfigured for long stay, or business suites and so on, so co-working, co-living. If I were building from scratch, I would look at these things.
So spaces that can be easily repurposed and reconfigured. And you also talked about openable windows, because you said that in Singapore, like 90% of hotels do not have windows that are openable.
Yeah, I think it's the large percentage of the inventory don't have that capacity to open your windows. And there are various reasons for it, safety and security being one. So yes, it costs more to maybe have that, but it does give you some flexibility should a pandemic happen. So again,
well, they
flexibility
keep
comes
telling
at
us that
cost.
the next one is going to happen, so we have to be prepared for it, and hopefully from this crisis that we are prepared for the next one.
Yeah.
But having gone through this great travel upheaval, has it shaken your family's commitment to the hospitality industry? Have you said, okay, we need to diversify now and we're not going to...
So we are, our business is independent from the larger family's business. So I think for myself, representing Park Hotel Group, our commitment to hospitality has not changed. I think today you have to be even more steadfast, because it's easy to run at the sign of trouble. But no, you have to relook your operations. You have to look at, where is the largest cost? How could you minimize that? How could you keep your people? How could you keep them engaged? And at the same time, how do you prepare for the future? So it is a lot more work for a lot less revenue.
Definitely. I think all of us are working really, really hard for very
Exactly,
little
right?
now.
You can't do as many events, but somehow you're more busy. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to do today, and you can't do it with less commitment. But as a business person, I would say, yes, we have to look at diversifying. Does that mean, hotels are daily leases? Because I can sell the room on daily.
Right.
Do I look at longer term leases with my customers, longer stay, meaning service residents, or pursuing the piece that is long stay? That is diversifying. Do I look at other source of revenue whereby I can use my hotels for the working crowd, the digital nomad, for example? I think that is re-looking the way hospitality contributes to your revenue, reconfiguring your asset so that you have that diversification effect.
Right.
And geographically as well. I mean, you can imagine if all your assets were in one country, that would be an issue today.
Right. I mean, COVID has really shaken the hospitality industry by its roots, right? And then really, I think, opened up a whole new world of opportunities, which maybe we didn't think about before.
Yeah.
So it's really quite an exciting new space
Yes.
to watch out for. So we're going to wrap up with rapid fire, okay? So you have 2 boys. What have you learned about them during COVID?
That I cannot handle them, plus home-based learning, plus work, all at once.
What have they learned about you?
Actually, I didn't ask them that, but they probably understand that mommy does work too. Because when I'm at home, and I used to work in the office, you do mommy things, right? You look after all the stuff. But actually, mommy does real work.
So now they know that you actually work. Okay.
Yes.
What is the most overused word in hospitality?
New normal. I
Yeah,
think that you agree.
Yeah, totally. The most underappreciated word in travel?
I would say in hospitality, may not be in travel, multi-skilling. I
That's
think that is underappreciated
Yeah,
in good times and in bad.
Right, and this COVID definitely has accelerated multi-skilling, right? Because this is how jobs are going to be.
We were
from
talking
now
about
on.
it 5 years ago, 8 years ago, but it's hard to get people to move
All right,
until
okay.
something happens.
So when do you expect to take your first quarantine-free family holiday?
Hopefully the bubble with Hong Kong that time lucky, July I think, because we've got family there. So I think that will be the first thing we will do.
Hong Kong in July. Thank you. Thank you, Shin Hui,
Thank
for
you,
joining
Siew.
us. Thank you so much. Thank you.